Hello, everyone. Welcome in. We're going to get started in just a moment. We're going to continue to let participants join the room. So wait just a couple seconds, and we'll get started shortly. Hello, everyone. We're going to get started. My name is Katie Hodap, and I serve as a graduate assistant in the Office of New Student Orientation. And tonight, we welcome you to the transfer webinar where you have a chance to ask questions, and we'll just provide you with some great information tonight. But I do want to turn it over to our lovely panelists who will also be sharing some information tonight as well.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jared Logan, and I serve as the Associate Director for Orientation Logistics here within the Office of New Student Orientation. My role really is a lot of the back end pieces of the program. So think like meals, transportation, overall schedule, some of the staffing pieces as well. But the other aspect of my role is working directly with our special population students, and our transfer students fall within that population. So I have the honor of really working directly with our transfer students and preparing them for their transition here to the university through new student orientation. Look forward to chatting with you all just a little bit more, but I'll pass it over to Amanda.
Thanks, Jared. My name is Amanda Shores, and I am the Director of Transfer Student Advising, Academic Success, and Retention. And I am housed under the University Advising Center. And my role is to provide some oversight to our academic advisors across our colleges and provide some additional support to our transfer students. So we know you're not new to college, but you are new to the University of South Carolina, and we want to make sure that you are well prepared for what it means for you to be a Gamecock, and we are excited to welcome you to our community. We'll turn it over to Zarin.
Hello, everyone. I'm Zarin Thomas, and I was a past team leader for new student orientation and orientation leader, and I am currently a transfer student.
Awesome. Thanks for introducing yourselves. So as you can see, there's also a few other people on the call, and those people will be moderating the chat. And so you'll have a chance to ask those questions, like I mentioned earlier, using that Q&A box. So feel free to ask your questions, and they may be answered live or they may be answered by our moderators. So shout out to them. But I do want to kick it off with a few questions that I've prepared myself. And my first question is for Jared. And what does transfer orientation look like compared to maybe an orientation for a first year student?
Great question, Katie. So traditionally, our first year student orientation is over 2 days with an overnight component. For our transfer students, you all know the lay of the land. You've experienced college in some capacity already. So for you all, we offer a 1 day program. But know that all the information that a first year student would get, you all are also getting. It's just a little bit more of a condensed, more directed format for you all as transfer students. And I know we may have two kind of different populations of our transfer students. Some of those that may be starting in the summer. So those would be for our transfer sessions, that's May 8th or May 29th. And then our students that are starting after June, so that June through August timeframe. And so really what that program looks like for our May students, our summer start students, you all will get a general welcome to the university by our office as well as some of our campus partners, including the University Advising Center with Amanda and her team. You will still connect with an orientation leader, so you will still have your own orientation leader, similar to Zarin, who will be able to support you all in your transition as well. You'll get a chance to really connect through a resource fair, some of our open houses here on campus with campus partners. And of course, we will feed you, right? So you'll have lunch in that capacity as well. But only for our two May sessions. This is May 8th, May 29th, our summer start students. You all will get to connect with your academic college directly, and you will be advising during new student orientation only if you are a summer start student. I'll make that very clear. Summer start only, that is summer one. I mean, yes, for summer one, so the May 8th, May 29th. For those that join us in June, you all, post June, those transfer students, you all will still have the same program. The only difference is you would have completed your registration or course registration prior to attending new student orientation. I'm sure there's additional information that Amanda will share with you all about that, but I want to make sure that you all knew. Very similar program. You just may have advising in a different format depending on if you are with us in the summer versus in the fall.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Jared. My next question is for Amanda. And what kind of resources and support can transfer students expect once they arrive on campus at USC?
Yes, thank you, Katie. One of the things that I wanted to highlight is, and I hope Saren will share a little bit of her perspective as a transfer student as well. We are excited to offer our students a dedicated advisor. They are professional staff members that are embedded in their academic colleges. They are specialized in their majors. And so your academic advisor is going to be a great resource for all of our transfer students as they are making this transition from leaving their previous institution behind and becoming a University of South Carolina student. Jared mentioned that there may be two different ways in which you're connecting with your academic advisor, but the content will be the same, right? They're going to take a look at your previous transfer coursework. They're going to see what your major that you are pursuing, and they're going to have some great conversations with you about how those courses transfer, what that looks like for your time to degree, and then ultimately walking away with a class schedule for the upcoming fall semester. One of the things too that we're really excited about is that our academic advising has expanded. And so where you may have, the intent is as long as you stay within your major, you're going to be with the same academic advisor your entire time at the university. We think this is a great change in some of our policies that, again, you'll be able to get to know that advisor. You're going to have those conversations. And then that's going to be a great resource for you. I think our academic advisors are a great place to start for that support, but we have lots of other offices on campus that can continue to provide transfer student support. We have our Carolina of Experience office, which is going to be a great place for if you want to get connected. And then we also have our Student Success Center, which is also going to be an office that you can connect to learn about some study skills, time management, maybe even financial literacy. This could be your first time that you're going to be out on your own and trying to manage what that looks like in supporting yourself and paying for college. So our Student Success Office can provide you a variety of opportunities. So thanks for letting me share a little bit about those support options, Katie.
Awesome. Thanks, Amanda. Yeah, she touched on a lot of resources that can help you be successful throughout your journey at USC. So definitely recommend checking them out. They should all have websites too that you can check out. So if you wanted more information, you can just type that in and it should pop up. But my next question is for Zirin. And Zirin, you shared that you were a transfer student. And how did you get involved as a transfer student? What are ways that you went and found organizations on campus?
Yeah, so for me as a transfer student, like my best piece of advice was to like basically become an act like it was like my first time being on campus, so like kind of like having a freshman year experience and using some of those like newly formed freshman events to kind of get more acclimated on campus. There's organization club fair that happens within like the first couple of weeks of being on campus, and that was something that I really enjoyed, getting to actually meet people face to face, write down my email, get contact information, actually have conversations with different clubs and organizations that I was involved in. And because of that, I got involved in like different things like mock trial, or found people socially to get connected with, and it kind of made campus feel a lot smaller for me. And then obviously getting involved in like jobs in different areas, like working in different departments of USC, definitely gave me a lot of connections and allowed campus to feel a little bit more easygoing for me. And outside of that, just kind of being everywhere there was event was happening. If you're on Green Street and you're walking, you're gonna find something to do. You're gonna find a place to be at. There's food, there's like vending, there's some type of event. Sometimes when you're walking through Green Street, there's like a petting zoo happening on Davis Field. Like there's always something going on. I really enjoyed that because I knew that if I just like waited around on Green Street, I was gonna have an activity to be a part of, and through that I was gonna meet people.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Zarin. As a transfer student myself, in ways I found involvement was just stepping outside of my comfort zone. And really, I know that can be really difficult at times, but finding that community was really important. And so I definitely just recommend that you step outside of your comfort zone, try something new when you come to campus, and we're excited to have you. But my next question can be for Amanda or Jared, just talking about advising in general. But how do you get connected with an advisor? Do they reach out to you or do you have to reach out to them?
Good question. And I will say it depends. That's probably going to be a phrase that you hear me say a good bit during this webinar tonight. So if you are coming to one of those May session dates that Jared mentioned, which is open to our fall transfer students as well, we do primarily serve our summer students, but if there's a fall student that wants to come in a little bit earlier and there is capacity, we'll welcome you there. Those two May dates will have advising taking place at orientation. So likely you're not going to hear from your advisor prior to meeting them on those 2 days, but there will be lots of follow-up communications after orientation. So we always encourage you to check your USC email for those details. For those of our transfer students who are going to be coming in June, July, and August, yes, you will be connected with your academic advisor once you complete Cocky transitions. And we will actually assign academic advisors for those students so that during those June, July, and August sessions, you'll be assigned an advisor. And then that advisor is that's who you'll meet in a virtual. If you live locally, you also welcome to meet with your advisor in person. But you will then have a one-on-one advising session that you can have deep conversations about how your class is transferred and what that looks like for your major. For those students who do attend in May, we will connect, whoever you see at orientation, we're going to work to make that your assigned advisor for subsequent semesters. And then that's when that advisor will reach out to you. So a little different depending on what session date. But there will be plenty of conversations. There'll be plenty of email communications. So you'll be able to feel confident that you can reach out to your academic advisor at any point in time once we get you through the orientation process.
Great. Thanks, Amanda, for sharing that. My next question, we're starting to answer your questions as well. So thanks for continuing to put those questions in the chat. We'll continue to moderate those. And we also have some moderators that are answering them right now. But want to answer a few of your alls as well. And my next question is for Zarin and for Jared. And what will transfer students learn in those small groups that happen during orientation? And who is leading those small groups?
I can start first. Who's leading those small groups are going to be current students. The similar to Zarin, as Zarin shares, she's both an orientation leader and one of our team leaders for our office. So it's led by another student, a peer, maybe an upperclassman student who kind of gotten a little bit more of the lay of the land and can really talk to you about their experience and getting connected and involved. Within those small groups, you're going to get a couple things. You're going to hear their perspective. You're going to hear about how they got connected, how they got involved, and some of the do's and don'ts right around being a student here at USC. They're really going to help you and introduce you to what it means to be a Gamecock. They're going to talk about the Carolinian Creed. They're going to talk about what it means to be a part of a community and why community is important. And they're going to start answering some of your questions as well. So there are some questions that are best served by a student, and that is why we have our orientation leaders in place to help support you all. Zarin, would you add anything additional to that?
Yeah, I would say like it's the best place to kind of find the resources from like a student perspective, answer any questions that like you have about like any stressors or doubts or unique experiences. And it's also like a great community building kind of like place because you're knowing that you're not just a transfer student alone, you're around other people that are having similar experiences and kind of having those questions and that conversation out loud. It really helped at least ease a lot of my stressors and like doubts and fears regarding like transferring or what that looked like, but like knowing that you're not alone, looking around and seeing that other people are going through the similar things was very important to me.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing your input. Our orientation leaders do a great job facilitating conversation and just creating a sense of belonging for for your students when they come. But my next question is for Amanda. There's been a lot of questions about placement testing and what does that look like. And one of them was just confused about having previous credits in both math and foreign language for general education. Should they still be signing up for the placement test? And does that need to be completed before attending orientation?
Yes, good questions. So I always encourage transfer students to complete those placement tests, even if you have incoming credit. And I'll tell you why. So one of the things that we find valuable is that we will never remove potential transfer credit that a student would have earned from a past institution that could go towards a foreign language or a math. The challenge is sometimes having that on affiliated with your student transcript when you need to have academic advising. And so many of our classes have prerequisites that are built for registration. So if you do not have a math course or a math placement test or a foreign language course or that placement test, it can inhibit what courses you can register. So I always highly encourage all of our students to take those placement tests. Again, it will not negate any of that previous coursework that you have earned, but in the event your transcript hasn't called up to when you're needing to meet with your academic advisor, this will prevent any delay in getting registered for the right courses that we need you to have. In addition, the math placement test in particular is not just for math placement, like for a math course. It is also important to have that placement test if you are a STEM major, because many of our science classes are also connected to math. And so again, if you've taken a course and we just haven't gotten that assigned to your academic record, it could really impact whether or not you can register for the right chemistry or the right biology. And so again, I encourage all students to take that math placement test and that foreign language placement test just to be on the safe side so that your academic advising can go very smoothly.
Great. Thanks for sharing that input, Amanda. My next question is that we've gotten in a little bit, and Amanda, you touched on Kaki modules earlier, and Amanda or Jared, if you all want to chime in, but what is Kaki modules and when do those need to be completed?
That's a great question. So your Coffee Transitions modules are your pre-orientation modules. And really what those are, it truly is an introduction to the university. We know that you all probably have questions a little early on about some deadlines, processes. So we want to get those out to you all as soon as we can. Um, for our transfer students, traditionally you will see this come up about 2 weeks, up to 2 weeks out before your session, just so that you have a chance to review it and take it. It can take up to, excuse me, about an hour and a half to complete those, but really it is necessary to make sure that you have a chance to really get the information, get those deadlines so that you know what's going on. This will be extremely important for our students who will be our transfer students who are joining us after June 1, because through this process, this is how you're going to be able to get connected with your academic advisor to begin your advising process. For our students that are coming to our 2 May sessions, you still will complete the Cocky Transitions modules, but you will complete them all at once. So there will be one set of modules. You'll complete all of them at one time. If you're joining us after June 1, for any of those June, July, or August transfer sessions, you will get your modules in 2 parts. You'll get the first half pretty early on. That's when you'll be able to connect with your advisor. And then after you've done course registration, you then will get access to part 2. And that comes out about 2 to 4 days before your actual orientation date, just to give you a chance to complete that. So they're still fresh on your mind.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Jared. My next question is for really anyone that wants to share, but how difficult is it to get an on-campus job as a transfer student?
Yeah, so as a transfer student, I found it was like pretty easy and relatively like accessible to find a job as a transfer student. There's so many like club organization like fairs and like resources that you can use, whether it be the Student Success Center or Career Center on campus, and as well as an Handshake is a great tool and resource to use. It kind of filters everything for you and shows proximity, career interest, or it allows you to like kind of filter and input information about your student. All you have to use is your Carolina card and your ID, and it allows you to have to see all the jobs that would be within like the realm of USC, and even outside that area within the radius. If you don't want an actual USC centered job, there's other jobs that show up as well. And that was like a saving grace for me to get involved and kind of find community within that realm as well.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Zarin. There are so many ways to get involved and find a place to work on campus, especially in the fall when campus is really buzzing and very busy. So I really appreciate you giving some perspective on that. But my next question is for Amanda. And what does the process look like for getting transfer credits sent over?
Yeah, great question. So, as part of your application process, that you were asked to provide unofficial transcripts for evaluation and for admissions decisions to be made. We will post that work to your USC transcript so that we can have that information again for academic advising. And then, as especially if you're currently enrolled at your institution that you're leaving, you're going to want to send an updated transcript with those final grades. And that one needs to be an official document, not one, not an unofficial document that we allowed for your application. So again, that goes back to a little bit, all credits may not be applied to your USC transcript when you meet with your academic advisor. So it is always a great practice to let your academic advisor know as they show you what coursework that we have assigned for you, to let them know if there's any credit missing, so that they can also make sure that they are making adjustments for those courses that they're recommending for you to take this summer and or fall. So again, that is something that you would want to send official transcripts through our Office of Admissions. You can do that through your application portal. But again, when you're working with your academic advisor, just be sure that the credit that they're indicating that we have on file for you is accurate. And if not, speak up and let them know that there's some coursework missing, because we certainly don't want to duplicate anything that you've already completed.
Great. Thanks, Amanda. My next question is for Jared as well as Zarin, if you wanted to chime in, talking about housing and what that looks like for a transfer student. And someone shared that they were told that transfer students would not get on campus housing. Is that true? And should they start seeking housing off campus as well? And how can they find off campus housing?
Yeah, I would say a perfect place to start is garnetliving.com. It's a place where you can see all the like housing within the area, and it's actually kind of backed up by USC. So it's any place that you want to search, you can filter by location, things like proximity, shuttle services if that's like a want or need for you. And it also shows like different things like such as like crime, anything that you'll be necessarily worried about where your students living or you yourself would be living. Garnetliving.com is a great place to kind of start within that. And then outside of that, we have like what's called the Leadership and Service Center that also kind of helps answer those questions. And they'll kind of like walk you through the process of what that looks like and any additional questions regarding that as well.
Yeah, there regarding shuttles as well for off-campus housing, I know that's been a concern and a lot of questions we get in an orientation in the summer. And a lot of the off-campus apartments and housing offers shuttles to campus, which is really nice. So like Zarin said, just continue to look into that, look into their website, and they should provide some more information. But thanks, Zarin, for sharing that for sure. My next question is for Amanda. And this one is just talking about I'm so sorry. What if classes are filled after students have already filled, current students have already filled up those classes? Will there still be spots available in current classes?
Yes. One of the things that we guarantee for our transfer students is that we will be able to put you in degree applicable credit, right? So we're going to make sure that the courses that you're registering are going to meet a degree requirement in your major. I will be real transparent and say that you may not be able to get your classes from 9 to 2:30, because that's where everybody wants to take their classes, from 9 to 2:30. And so many of our current students have already, as they have already registered, those preferred times may be harder to find. But again, we have plenty of classes that will help you meet your degree goal, meet those major requirements. It just may not be, you may have to have a Friday class, right? That may not have been what you were hoping for. But the good news is that as you transition to the university, In the fall semester, when you are talking to your academic advisor about spring classes, you're going to be a current student and ahead of that process, and you'll be able to maybe create a more friendly schedule for yourself.
Great. Thanks, Amanda. My next question is for Jared. Talking a lot about Carolina Card. We've had a few questions come in about that. And how can I get a Carolina Card, and what does the process look like for that?
Great question. So, as part of your registering for new student orientation, there's a couple of to-do list items in your registration. And one of those is going to be making sure that you are uploading your photo for the Carolina Card process. That that should be up and posted. If it's not as of yet, I'd give it about a week or so. They're trying to finalize some final pieces there, but you'll be able to upload a photo in advance. And that's actually what we recommend you all do to help picking up your Carolina Card a little bit easier once you arrive. So you actually pick up your physical Carolina Card at new student orientation. It actually is part of what we call our taking care of business aspect of new student orientation. So once you check in, you arrive, you park, you check in the new student orientation. The very next thing you will do is pick up your Carolina Card. So we will have a line within our Rusk House Student Union. You'll be able to go right and connect with the Carolina Card office to pick up your physical printed Carolina Card if you upload a photo prior. If you did not upload a photo prior, that is a-okay. They will just take your photo here on site. So they'll take your photo once you were here with us physically. They'll go ahead and take that for you. Now it may take them a little bit of time to print it because they need to process them all, but you will leave new student orientation with your Carolina Card. And it really is important that you complete that while you're here at new student orientation, no matter when your session is, just so you don't have to worry about anything when this first day of classes come.
Awesome. Thanks, Jared, for sharing that. My next question is about packing for orientation. It's going to be hot, and so there are essential items that you would like to bring. So, what should a student pack for orientation?
I can take this one as well. So as far as packing and preparing for new student orientation, Katie is correct. It is, we say, famously hot here in Columbia, so it does get a little warm. So we would say make sure you're wearing comfortable, breathable clothing. Majority of the program we will be inside our student union, but there is time that we'll take you all outside just for you to get and take in all the things that USC has to offer. Whether we're walking to various things, which also means packing comfortable shoes that you're going to feel comfortable walking around in, not just from location to location for orientation, but we also hope that you kind of get to walk and take advantage of being here on campus and exploring what all is to offer here on campus. Checking out the horseshoe, taking your first photo with Bronze Cocky, giving his beak a little boop. That's a tradition here on campus. Really is to kick off your semester strong. So that make sure that you pack water because again it is warm, so make sure that you are hydrating yourself and taking care of yourself there. We do have a packing list, and I'm sure one of our background moderators can drop that link for you all in the chat. But we do have an overall packing list, but those are the big ones that I would recommend. Make sure you're staying comfortable. Bring something that you can hydrate. Shoes that you feel comfortable walking around with. For your Carolina Card, you will need to bring a state issued ID. It looks like actually Kaylee dropped it here in the chat for you all. Make sure you bring something because they will need a state issued ID for you to be able to pick up your Carolina Card. So those are the really important things I'd share to make sure you bring for orientation.
Great. Thanks, Jared, for sharing that. I think those were super helpful. I think tennis shoes, some comfy shoes that you can wear walking around campus, and especially during the summer heat. So making sure that you're prepared for orientation is important. My next question is for Amanda. There's been a few questions about adding a major or a minor, and how can students go about that?
Yeah, good question. So as part of the application process, students are only eligible to select one major. And so what you'll plan to do is when you connect with your academic advisor, or through if you are coming in one of our orientation sessions in June and after, is a possibility to do a pre-orientation advising worksheet. And you can also have, there's some questions there that you can insert that you're interested in some minors. It's definitely not a requirement. Those are conversations that can be saved for our fall semester. So really Our advising focus is making sure that we're getting you in those courses that you need to complete your major. But we can certainly start having some of those initial conversations because we have a lot of minors that can be added to your major. And then, of course, depending if you are pursuing a second major in the same college is very different if you're pursuing a second major in another college. But those are conversations you can certainly, and questions you can certainly ask your advisors, and they'll be glad to provide you some resources.
Great. Thanks, Amanda. My next question is for Jared or maybe Zarin. There has been a question about parking passes for the fall semester. And where can students go and buy a parking pass? And is there a specific like lot or garage that they can choose to park in?
I can take this one. So, parking permits will actually open. If I remember it, we just heard from them earlier today. It'll open in July. So about mid to early July, you will get access to um, purchase a parking permit if you're going to park on campus. There's two options that you can do for parking. There are our surface lots, and the best way to describe those is they are first come, first serve. You may not be guaranteed a spot, but there are multiple lots around campus. Majority of our transfer students will utilize a commuter pass or commuter permit for doing that because many of them, if not majority of them, will live off campus. The other option is our garages. And our garages are pretty much your guaranteed a spot, but know that that comes at an additional cost. So the permits are a little bit more expensive than our surface lots, but that is because it is a guaranteed spot. Um, as far as pricing goes, that pricing has not been explicitly released as of yet, but know that garage passes are a little bit more expensive. And for both surface lots and garage lots, you can either pay per semester or for a full year, just depending on your needs there. But one thing I will highlight is our shuttles that we utilize here on campus that are through the Parking and Transportation Office. To me, a completely underutilized resource here because it is free. You are paying for it. All you need to do, they call it a joke. You like swipe, sit, and signal. That's literally their go-to for that. You'll take your Carolina card. You will swipe it once you get on the shuttle, and then you will sit. Whenever you need to stop, you'll pull the signal right in front of you. It's like a yellow string, and that is how they know it's time for them to stop. And those buses go all across campus depending on, and to many of our apartment complexes as well. So I definitely recommend you go ahead and kind of looking at those. If you want to bring a car to campus, that is totally fine, but not required in any way, shape, or form because we do have those shuttles as an opportunity for you all to get to campus and to get back home.
Great. Thanks for sharing that input, Jared. My next question is for Amanda. And this person shared that they don't think that their final grades or official transcripts from their current institution will be released until after their orientation session. But they have submitted an unofficial copy. Is that an issue when they sign up for courses?
It's not going to be an issue, but we will likely not have those courses posted to the student's account, right? Because we can't do that until we see the final grades. So this is again where it is real important for you to be clear and upfront with your academic advisor and say, hey, I had classes this spring semester. These are my classes, have that prepared. If you are participating in one of the orientation sessions where you can do a virtual one-on-one appointment, then you can have that at the ready and have your former school portal or have a copy of that transcript available, even the unofficial one, to share with your advisor. If you are coming to one of our May session dates, print that out with you and have it with all the things that you're bringing to orientation, and then you can just share that with your advisor during those two sessions so that we can again ensure that we are accounting for all credit that we are anticipating you to have.
Great. Thanks, Amanda. Next question is for Jared, and talking a little bit about meal plans, and what do sophomores or just transfer students in general do for meal plans? And they are required, but how does that process kind of work for transfer students?
For sure. So you are correct. So our meal plan, so all of our first year freshman students are required to have a meal plan, but for our transfer students, you are not. So there is an option. They are what we call our voluntary meal plans that we allow for commuting students and transfer students to be able to opt into a meal plan. And there's a couple of options that are tied to that. whether that is you want like what we call like a weekly 10, where you have 10 swipes per week and they kind of refresh every week. And that'll get you into all of our all you care to eat dining facilities here on campus that you all can utilize. There's things called declining balance, where you like put in a certain amount of money onto your Carolina card and you swipe that way. And then there are things, as I believe the question also is tied to like some of our dining dollars or like Carolina cash that folks can use at some of our retail locations. That could be your Starbucks, your Chick-fil-A, your Panda Express. Panda Express is a big, big deal here within Austin Nation orientation for our students. That can also be Qdoba as well, that you can kind of use. And that's a declining balance in that, like, as it swipes, that is what comes out. And majority of your meal plan things are going to be tax exempt. So what the price is what the price. It was listed as what will come off of your Carolina card. I will drop the link about voluntary meal plans here in the chat, just so folks can check those out as well.
Great, thanks for sharing that. There's a lot of great food options on campus for students to utilize, also nearby restaurants as well. And like Jared mentioned about those dining dollars and what restaurants do take that, and what does that look like. But my next question for Amanda is, what is DegreeWorks and how can a student use it?
Yes, good question. So DegreeWorks is our degree audit tool. And what that means is it is a resource that lives in your self-service Carolina account. So that's my.sc.edu. And under registration tools, there is a link to DegreeWorks. And so you go in, you sign in DegreeWorks, and it is going to show you a course by course listing of all of the requirements to meet your degree. And so as a transfer student, you will also likely see courses that you've taken from your other institution and how we transferred that here to the university and how that is also meeting a degree requirement. So I encourage you, as you are preparing for your orientation session this summer, it's a great resource tool. Again, just be mindful that it might not have your spring grades, right? If you haven't turned those in or haven't earned those yet, that could be some coursework that is not reflective. But anything from your past semesters that we have seen grades, then those can show how it's meeting a degree requirement. It's a great place to start. It's a great place for you to maybe ask questions or identify questions that you want to ask of your advisor. So again, that's in your my.sc.edu portal. It's under registration tab, and you'll be able to see a link for DegreeWorks.
Yeah, I've heard some great things about DegreeWorks, so thanks for sharing that, Amanda. The next question is talking a little bit about veteran resources. What does that look like for students on campus, and where can they find the veteran resources?
Yep, I can go with this one. So we have an amazing veteran military services office/department here on campus that will be a really great resource for you all. So that is all things related to the GI Bill, finding other veteran students, other military affiliated folks to get connected with. So highly recommend you all check out them, and I'll also drop the link in the chat for everyone, or one of the moderators can as well. But again, really great opportunity. And I saw a question earlier about VA benefits and things like that, and asking about when should you start that process. As soon as you can. So as soon as you know that you're going to be using any either GI Bill or any military benefits for college, go ahead and start that process now, because it can be a lengthier process with forms and kind of going back and forth. So again, please, if you're going to utilize those, please make sure that you are, thank you, Allison, for dropping that in the chat. Please make sure that you're starting that process now, going and getting those things figured out, so that you aren't too behind with things, and all of your benefits and funding can get to you in a timely manner.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. They definitely offer some great resources and support throughout your journey at USC. So definitely reach out, like Jared mentioned, and Allison mentioned, or just drop that link in there. But my next question is for Jared or anyone else that also wants to share, but talking about sorority recruitment and what does that look like, and when can transfer students rush and go into sorority recruitment or fraternity recruitment?
I can take this one as well. So as far as we talk about Rush, many people are talking about our college Panhellenic organizations, the ones you maybe specifically know related to recruitment and Rush. And so registration for that actually opens next Friday on May 1st. So on May 1st, for paneling and recruitment, that will open up on May 1st. So we recommend that you go ahead and reach out to Fraternity Story Life. Thank you so much, Kaylee, for dropping that there in the chat for you to get connected with those. So that will come first. As far as any of our other dates for Fraternity Story Life, for our Interfraternity Council, that will open on May 15th. For folks interested in joining any of our IFC organizations on campus. As far as any of our NPHC or National Panhellenic Council or our CGC or our Cultural Greek intake, those dates have not been released yet, but traditionally those will happen a little bit closer to when school starts. So you should start looking for emails, looking and checking on the website starting in early August about if you want to join either the Cultural Greek Council or the National Panhellenic Council. But Panhellenic recruitment, college Panhellenic recruitment is registration opens May 1st for our Interfraternity Council that opens on May 5th.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Jared. An exciting time that happens on campus for sure. So I hope that was helpful information. And as Jared mentioned, you can find more information on the website. But my next question is for Amanda. And there's been a few questions about double majoring. And how can a student double major?
Yes. So talking to your academic advisor is the best place to start. Again, as you apply, you can only pick one major. That's how we have our application process structured. I would, it may not be a conversation that your advisor is ready to have with you as we're preparing for you for fall or summer advisement. And it may be something that we'll just make a note and follow back up with you when we connect in the fall semester for your spring advisement. Again, the challenge is one of the great questions is sharing with your advisor what you want that double major to be, because if it's in the same college, that's a little bit of an easier process. If it's in a different college, then there are some additional things that your advisor will want to talk through about how that process works. Certainly, great questions. Have that in your list of things you want to talk to your advisor about, but also be prepared that that might be something that your advisor says, cool, we'll talk about that in the fall. Let's make sure that we can get you in the courses that we want to navigate this semester.
Great. Thanks, Amanda. Yeah, your advisor is super helpful for having those conversations. And like Amanda mentioned, definitely have that communication with them and be clear with them. But I really appreciate that. My next question is for Jared. And are guests put in a different group or do they accompany students during orientation?
Great question. We often talk about orientation and we talk about it from the student perspective, but know that we do have a family and supporter version of our orientation, and it coincides and actually follows along with the student schedule as well. So we very much encourage, though it's not required, we do encourage and highly encourage that our family members and supporters attend new student orientation with their students. There's programming specifically for family members and supporters throughout it. Now, majority of the program will be with your student. However, we do have specialized programming to make sure that you all also recognize that you're going through your own transition as well. So we'll share some tips, some tricks, give you some important information for you all as a supporter of the student to make sure that your student has what they need, feel supported from you, and also that we as an institution can partner with you to make sure that your student is being successful. So though not necessarily other small groups, you will get to connect with other family members and supporters, however, though, through that programming.
Great. Thanks, Jared. Yeah, it's definitely a great time to share and ask questions. We have a point of view panel where parents and supporters can ask questions to our current orientation leaders and sharing their experience at the institution and sharing tips and tricks similar to how this webinar is going. And so how to be successful for their journey at USC. But overall, I think it's just a great way to get involved and meet other family members. My next question for Amanda. I know we touched a little bit on placement exams earlier, but there's still been a few questions that have been coming in. And if we took our placement test at another institution, do we have to retake the test?
Yes, we have to have a record of that assessment here at the university. We aren't able to transfer that kind of information. So the expectation is that you would take that placement exam as part of your onboarding process for getting academically advised for this semester. Again, if your placement test at your other institution then generated, recommendation for a course that you're taking and completing, then that could be a different conversation. But, we find it very beneficial to have all students completing our placement test as part of their preparation for academic advising so that we have all the information that we need and there's no challenges with getting into the right courses that a student needs.
Great. Thanks, Amanda. This next question is for anyone and talking a little bit about financial aid and scholarships. This person shared that their son applied for scholarships online. And when do they hear about those?
Great question. So, as far as scholarships go, a lot of these happen on a rolling basis. So, what we recommend is if your student's already committed and they say they're coming here to USC, is for them to continue to check into their my.sc.edu account, because within that they'll be able to go to their financial aid dashboard. That's where all information about financial aid, scholarships, any additional support financially will come to. So we highly recommend you check that out. And it does not hurt to give a call to Financial Aid and Scholarships, their office directly. They are open from 8:30 to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. So it does not hurt to reach out to them because they may be able to give you some additional information about maybe whether the process itself or if there's additional financial aid opportunities that are open or that your student or you yourself can kind of opt into. So first, check your my.sc.edu account regularly because those come up. And two, feel free to reach out to Financial Aid and Scholarships and they can help you out from there as well.
Great. That's great information, Jared. Thanks for sharing that. My next question is for Amanda. And again, it's a placement test question, but want to make sure that we get them all covered. And this person shared that they were told that since his math requirements were met already, he did not need to sign up for the math placement test. Is that true? What does that look like?
Yeah, again, I certainly understand that, if we have that transfer credit and it's showing as a math course, there's no requirement again in terms of that you have to take the math placement test. It's just best practice, right? Because again, if there's something with that transcript and we haven't received that course and we don't have it tied to the student's academic record, having that placement exam is just going to be a quick reference point and we're going to be able to register for classes. If a student or supporter feel very strongly that their student has the math course that is required for their major, certainly is no, again, requirement that the math placement test be completed. Just be aware if we have any challenges during academic advising, that may be the information an advisor will provide the student that says, well, then I need you to go take the math placement test. Again, not a big problem, but could be a resort and, best recommendation and then may delay actually getting into some courses. So certainly taking the math placement test again does not remove any transfer coursework. It is just a best practice to have that in place in the event we're unable to find that math class as part of the student's record, and it just eliminates any worries about getting into the right classes. But as I mentioned before, if we feel really strongly, we have confirmed all the things, this class is going to meet the math requirement for the major, then there is perfectly fine to not take the math placement test.
Great. Thanks for sharing that. My next question is for Zarin and talking about football tickets. And that's a really big deal for students here at USC. So what do you have to do for tickets for football games? Is there a lottery-based system? Is it point-based? What does that kind of process look like?
Yeah, so the best way to get football tickets is using the Cockpit app. It's CockPittapp. And the Cockpit app, it was basically like your one-stop shop to make sure that you're getting tickets. And they kind of work on a point system. So each like year, based on your credits as a student, you get a certain amount of allotted points, and that works towards your like availability to and accessibility to get tickets as a student. And by going to certain athletics games and like events that take place on campus, you actually receive a certain amount of points. So going to a volleyball game would have you accumulate points, and most of those like volleyball games and soccer games allow you to kind of get those football points up. So by the time that the football games happen, you get like better seating, or there's a better chance for you to actually receive a football ticket. So it just depends on your year and like how many credits you're going in with into the like semester.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for sharing that, Zarin. We have a lot of great sports teams here on campus, so definitely check out a lot of the other ones. Football is great, but we have women's basketball and Dawn Staley, and we have volleyball and softball, and so a lot of great sports that you should definitely check out that will help you get points for those football games. But my next question is for Jared. It's talking about the community service project. So, what exactly is the community service project, and does that apply to transfer orientation?
Yes and yes. So first, as part of New Student Orientation, we partner directly with the Gamecock Community Shop. The Gamecock Community Shop really is there's a lot of things that are in there. So that could be it's both a food pantry, there's a wardrobe pantry as well that you can go get maybe clothes for like an internship or an interview or anything like that. You can always go there. But as part of New Student Orientation, we invite students to bring pantry items. So those could be food items, those could be hygiene products as well. And we do, and again, invite students to bring those, and that 100% does pertain as well to our transfer orientation and transfer students and their family members and supporters who would like to donate. So if you're able to donate either food items, hygiene items, we highly recommend that you do so and actually ask that you do that. It's really, truly your first piece of Gamecocks helping Gamecocks in this process. As we continue going into the summer, you'll probably start to hear, whether on our social media platforms or on our website, kind of a list of needs because the community shop communicates with us and lets us know really what they need from us. But yes, highly recommend that you all participate with the Gamecock Community Shop. Actually, Kaylee, our coordinator, who's kind of on the back end, is really the one that partners and works with them from our office. And we had a record number of about 12,000 donations last summer. And I always like to reach for the stars. So if we can hit 13, that make me really happy. But 12,000 at least is the minimum.
Great. Thanks, Jared. Yeah, the Gamecock Community Shop is definitely a great resource for students here on campus. And so it's kind of very special that we can play a little bit of a part in it for students. And then my next question is for Amanda. And this student is talking about how they have their transcript for the fall and will submit my transcript from the spring as soon as spring classes are over. Those classes will be used for my schedule creation during orientation in the summer, correct? What if you're taking summer classes as well? Will those classes be able to roll over for my orientation and so that they can use those as credit and not have to take those classes again?
Yes, so similar, just to be share all this information with your academic advisor. If you're coming in for the May sessions, make sure you have a printout or can pull something up on your phone pretty quickly so you can show your academic advisor. If you're coming in for one of our June sessions or later, then you can maybe have that pulled up during that one-on-one conversation. Yes, so the challenge is always going to be like, we're going to have to confirm those grades, right? But we can certainly avoid taking these classes until we're able to confirm that we receive those courses. So we can certainly renegotiate your schedule based on what our advisors may not know that you're in summer school. So they certainly want to tell them that. And then that may be part of that conversation with your advisor that we need to adjust a couple of classes. We'll shift these until we can confirm that you've completed those summer courses.
Great. Thanks, Amanda. As we wrap up, I just want to ask one more question to all of our lovely panelists. Shout out to them again for being here, as well as our moderators who have been answering questions. But the last question I do want to share is, what is one piece of advice that you would give to a incoming transfer student?
There's a lot, but one that I will go with for our transfer students is that, and Zarin kind of talked about this in her own introduction. but truly treat this as like a new experience, right? So yes, you may be coming from another institution, whether that is a 2 year, a community college, another 4 year institution, but USC can be new for you, and it can be a new experience. There are people here that want to support you and will support you through that. You will meet friends, you will find community here, but know that it can be new, and embrace the newness. Dive into it. Go to the organizations. Go to the clubs and truly find involvement so you can find something um, for yourself. And that also could be tied directly to your major. Get involved with undergraduate research, talk to your professors, check in, really make and create your own USC experience.
Jared gave great ones. I would also maybe be more specific to orientation. There is going to be a lot of information that we're going to give you during your time at orientation. So it's going to be okay if you don't remember everything. We are a large university that really is great at making you feel like you're very connected. And so I think that's one of the things I love the most about this institution. So leverage these resources that you are learning about during orientation. Continue to reach out to your academic advisor. They are certainly here to support your journey. But then also make connections during your orientation sessions. These are folks who are similarly coming to this institution at the same space. Even if they're not in your major, that's even better, right? Like just continuing to start to build that community. I think that's going to be one of the ways that you feel really connected and excited and ready to hit the ground running when you come back in August.
I think those were great. I definitely agree with both of those. I would definitely say don't compare yourself to like other people's journey. When I first transferred here, I was like, oh my gosh, I felt like I was like a year behind or that I was behind everyone. But then, like Jared's saying, I really embraced that and I was like, let me lean into this, let me be open and receptive and kind of just like sometimes it was surrounding myself with like younger people or if like freshmen and just kind of living through those like moments and kind of being able to live vicariously through them and also have my own experience, especially with orientation. And that was like the best thing that I could have done because I was like curating my experience through other people, surrounding them and kind of building that community and networking. So honestly, like just lean into it, embrace everything that's going on, and just be receptive and open to the resources, the organizations, the clubs, all that USC has to offer because it truly does make a difference to your experience and the journey that you'll have.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, everyone. I think those were all great pieces of advice. And I think my piece of advice, Jared kind of shared about it, but getting involved and stepping outside of your comfort zone, and find your community of friends on campus. But lastly, I do want to share my screen, which will have some reminders. And can I get a thumbs up that you all can see it? Perfect. And so on here, you'll see some recap and reminders. Registration for orientation is currently open. You can register through Self Service Carolina, and then you can also find more information and frequently asked questions on our website. And so make sure that you can connect with us also on our Instagram and our Facebook, and we will continue to post there as well. But we hope that you took something away from this, and this will also be recorded and posted on our YouTube shortly. So we hope that you did take something away from this, and we're excited to welcome you to the USC family this upcoming fall. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.